First, let's start with this case. Backstory. I am a volunteer football coach of my son's team. Another father who has been a coach with me in the past and has a child on my son's team has decided to not coach this year. We live across town from each other and the school is in the middle. Besides being a casual acquaintance and having kids in school together, we do not socialize or interact much at all. The first game, this father called me and said he was away and asked me to bring home his son to the game. I had a lot going on, but my wife decided to help them while I was working coaching. Now the second week, he called me again and asked the same thing, saying they are away and can't. He said, of course, I could always ask them the favor, but I had to say to him that I can't be responsible, and I have enough things going on. My wife said she would take him home, and that's fine, but I am slightly offended and may have been rude. I messaged him that I'm sorry and that we could take him home but not pick up. I don't know how to handle this situation. Am I the idiot for saying that I would never ask him to do this because I'm across town and show up for obligations? IMHO, one time it's fine, but to get the call the first 2 games when I have to coach also, I feel I need to stick up for myself and say no. I can't have this every week. Also, these parents go and party away with their friends every weekend and leave their kids at home. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. I am sorry, but with my own children, family, and work commitments, and actually coaching the team, I cannot drop off your child by going out of my way to do so. You're not in the wrong. I would step away from their hot mess of a family pronto. You certainly don't want any to happen to the boy after dropping him off, and then the blame falls onto you for leaving a vulnerable child home alone. I would seriously tell him it's their responsibility to manage their children. You're in the wrong. You keep talking about how you don't know this guy, and he doesn't go to your church, and you're not friends, and he parties all the time. You aren't doing this guy a favor. You're doing this favor for a kid. You're driving out of your way so a kid can be part of a team and play a sport he presumably enjoys. Maybe he just has crappy parents, or maybe there's stuff going on at home you don't know about. I used to be that kid who missed out on so much because my parents weren't around and engaged. I'm almost 40, and I still remember the parents who drove me around and were excited to see me and didn't make me feel like a burden. Just pick the kid up, dude, and maybe when he's 40, he'll remember that cool football coach who didn't mind going out of his way. Next up, we are a family of 13 people and 3 generations. Our family is very close, and we love family reunions. However, my brother often relies on our father to pay for his family's travel expenses, which has become an expectation. My husband and I always pay our own way, and my sister also pays for herself and sometimes for her nieces and nephews. My brother and his wife, on the other hand, expect the best accommodations and meals without contributing financially. They also tend to make plans with other friends and ditch us during vacations. My brother and his wife earn about the same as my husband and me, and our parents are retired school teachers living on a fixed income. Due to financial limitations, our family reunions have become less frequent. My husband and I still go on vacation with our kids every year, sometimes joined by my sister and mom. My dad has physical limitations and only travels when he is well enough. My kids have been requesting a trip to my homeland, where we have many distant relatives. We decided to keep our plans quiet to avoid being hijacked by the family. We booked an Airbnb and only told my sister, who decided to join us. This created an issue with my parents, as they expected her to visit them. My mom eventually bought plane tickets for herself and Dad using air miles without telling Dad. So it's now the 8 of us going, and we decided not to invite anyone else due to financial constraints. I recently learned that my brother and his wife were also planning the same trip, but with her friends. When they saw the cost, my brother called Dad, hoping he would pay for it. However, my parents have faced financial hardships recently. Dad did not fund my brother's trip, and Mom secretly told my brother about our plans, asking him to reach out to me. He never called and canceled his plans. My sister accidentally told one of our nieces about the trip, who then informed her parents. My sister-in-law was furious. She told me she would have invited us if they were planning a trip. I told her I knew of her travel plans and we were not included. I then suggested we all go on a family cruise and would be happy to plan it. I reached out twice with the suggestion, but she has not responded. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Your brother and Asiel are users, and your parents seem more afraid of losing the relationship with their kids than worrying about their finances. The problem is, you'll likely have to support your parents if they put themselves in a bad financial position from helping your brother. You need to get on the same page as your sister and have a frank discussion with your parents. As long as your brother is allowed to take advantage of your parents, this will continue. You're not in the wrong. Just because you and your sister plan a vacation to include your families does not automatically mean your brother and his family have to be included and tagged along, especially if others, you, sister, and/or parents, are expected to pay. Your brother's entitlement to everyone else paying for his family's vacation needs to come to a stop, and their participation only occurs when he and his wife pay for their portion. You were legitimately worried about the rest of your family hijacking your trip, and that's basically what happened. You told your sister, who told your mom. Niece tells parents. Sounds like a big mess. Your brother and sister-in-law are terrible for mooching off your parents, but they enable it too. They could simply say no, but won't for some reason. The entitlement coming from your bother is out of control. But I think the mistake you made was telling your sister and trying to keep the whole thing secret from your brother in the first place. Because now that they're used to getting a free trip, they feel like they're being intentionally excluded. You're not in the wrong. Next up, my dad died a few years back after a long illness. In the weeks leading to his death, his sister, who lives in a different state, came to town to help take care of him, say her goodbyes, etc. Let's call her Sherry. The day after he died, while my mom and I were planning his funeral, Sherry went through the house and stole a number of his things. Scrapbooks and pictures from his childhood, his hole-in-one plaque, and some items from his time in the Army. Specifically, she took his Combat Infantryman badge, CIB, and his Purple Heart from Vietnam. Out of everything he had, those last two items were the only items I wanted. It took a few weeks for us to discover what Sherry had done. My mom was able to get Sherry to confess she took them, and to her credit, Sherry mailed everything back to us. Everything except the CIB and the Purple Heart. Sherry claimed she did not have them and did not know where they could be. Considering she admitted to stealing the other items, I didn't believe her, but I was not in a place where I could rationally deal with the situation. Sherry came to town recently to get some things that belonged to her parents, my grandparents, that were at my mom's house. Neither my mom nor my brother and I want any of these items, so giving them to her is no issue. When she was at my mom's house, I asked her again about the CIB and the Purple Heart. This time, she admitted she had them and she has no intention of returning them. Her excuse comes down to finders keepers. I'm not proud of it, but I blew up at her. I told her that if she had any respect for my dad, her brother, she would return them immediately. I even offered to pay for her to ship them. After some arguing, she refused. This is when I told her she was dead to me, and if there was anything else she wanted from the house, she had better take it now because it was her only opportunity to do so. Now I'm getting grief from relatives on that side of the family telling me I need to be reasonable, that it's not worth ruining familial relationships over. As I'm concerned, I did nothing wrong. So am I in the wrong? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Thieving a recently deceased parent's most precious keepsakes is absolutely worth ruining a familial relationship over, and proves that relationship wasn't worth much in the first place. Finders keepers does not apply to private spaces. It sounds like your parents were not married at the time of your father's death, and therefore it is very likely you are legally entitled to your father's property as his heir, particularly if he did not specify their ownership in his last W&T, and that his Purple Heart and CIB are yours in the eyes of the law. A strongly worded letter from an attorney, or even a simple letter from you, letting her know you're considering retaining one, is usually enough to get items back in the mail. You're not in the wrong. My family had a situation similar to this. I am sure your dad would have wanted his child to have the items and would have made your wants a priority over hers. She should have respected that and come to an agreement with the family instead of just taking it. She's an adult and should have thought of this. Plus, since she lied about it on top of everything, is just immature. She is being selfish, and at this point she has made it where you need to be selfish back. And I do not see it as unreasonable. No way. You're not the idiot here. Your aunt straight up took some of your dad's most cherished belongings without even batting an eye. And then, when you confront her about it, she pulls the finders keepers card? That's seriously messed up. You had every right to blow up at her and tell her she's dead to you. I mean, those items aren't just stuff. They're pieces of your dad's history and memory. It's understandable that you're upset, and honestly, I'd be furious too. Your relatives should be backing you up on this, not telling you to be reasonable. Stick to your guns, man. You did nothing wrong here. Next up, I, 17th, had the first day of school yesterday. It's my final year of high school, and I'm pretty involved with school clubs, so I know a lot of people even though I'm not popular and not involved with much drama, until no. On the way home, I saw some friends I hadn't talked to over the holidays, and while chatting, one of them brought up a girl we can call Layla, 16F. Two of my friends had heard that Layla was telling people her sister Cassidy, 18F, who graduated last year, is now pregnant. I knew Cassidy, and even though we weren't close friends, she was always super nice. None of us really believed it, but they had both heard it separately and thought it was weird. I thought since Cassidy wasn't at school to defend herself or even hear about it, someone should tell her that people in Y11 and Y12 were hearing it. So I DM'd her on Instagram telling her what I'd heard, said I didn't believe it and didn't really expect a response. She messaged me back thanking me and asking a few questions, and I thought I'd done the right thing. Apparently not, because today Layla found me at lunch and yelled at me for messaging her sister. Turns out their mom saw the message, and now they have family drama, and are blaming Cassidy for the rumor being spread, not Layla. Layla said she had no idea the rumor was spreading at all, and she had no part in it. Layla also said I had no right inserting myself in family drama, and if I heard one of Cassidy's friends spread the rumor, it would have been fine. But since I thought it was her, I should have gone to Layla first, not Cassidy. She was yelling so loud, and for so long teachers got involved and tried to set up meetings for us, and potentially our parents as well. But I said it wasn't necessary. I apologized to Layla for causing family drama, but said I didn't feel bad for telling Cassidy what was being said about her, because I thought she deserved to find out as soon as possible. Layla said I wasn't Cassidy's friend and not to see her, talk to her, or message her again. Even so, I messaged Cassidy an apology for starting family drama, which I am genuinely sorry for. She hasn't responded, and I don't expect her to. But even so, I don't think I was the idiot for telling Cassidy there was a pregnancy rumor about her. Edit for clarity. Cassidy is not pregnant, and Layla said she didn't start it or tell anyone. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. You heard a rumor about someone and let them know. Simple as that. If Layla didn't want family drama, maybe she shouldn't have been running her mouth. Her reaction is over the top, and that's not your problem. You're not in the wrong. You told Cassidy something that directly affected her, which is basic decency. Layla being mad, she caught up in her own mess. Like if she didn't start the rumor, then why freak out so bad? Weird reaction. You're not in the wrong. Pregnancy rumors are no joke and can seriously impact someone's life and future. You did the right thing by telling her. I think most people would want to know if rumors like that were being spread. The family are the true idiots here. This isn't something that should cause family drama, and Layla has zero reason to get upset at you for it.